Chapter 4. Slave to the Rhythm. 3 days passed in relative peace. Chief Jabo's mood lifted as she passed the peak of her blood moon and came down the other side. Sulan kept Darev fed and watered and convinced Ziba to sew him some clothes. Ziba warned them both again about attracting undue attention with his prowess at conversation. While the tribe was not as fundamental as the sisterhood, men speaking like women would not be a popular revelation. Once he'd seated Chief Jabo and the tribe's 2 breeders, Darev would be at risk of a stray spear finding its way to his backside, so he'd better play dumb. The 4th day since the trip to the market dawned with a foggy grey mist rolling up the valley. It settled over the huts and fire pits, and the slaves had difficulty starting the morning fires. Sulan and Mosh were curled up together on Mosh's bed. They'd enjoyed an hour of tickling and tonguing each other until their giggling and moaning had become too much for the nearby women to bear, and an assortment of thrown objects hit Mosh's hut. Then a shout of, "For fuck's sake! Finish each other already! We're trying to sleep!" So, tongues had found mother spots to bring the fun to a satisfying end. Sulan woke from post-coital slumber to the sound of Chief Jabo yelling from the high cave. "Is it even in? I feel like I'm sitting on a knucklebone," the chief shouted. "Oh shit! She's got Darev up there. She should have a guard, shouldn't she?" Sulan sat up. Mosh turned over under the bed hides and mumbled. "You reckon that weedy cedar of yours will hurt Jabo? More like the other way around. Come back to sleep." "It's Jabo hurting Darev that I'm worried about," Sulan thought. At least the protocol for the chief needing a guard would give her an excuse to make sure he was okay. "He's not my cedar. Don't say that. You'll get me in trouble. I'm going to see if I can help." "Suit yourself." Mosh dug herself deeper into the warm skins. Sulan struggled into her clothes, donning an extra feather cloak. "Shit, it's cold this morning," she yelped as she left the hut. The other huts were slow to rise, despite the chief's noise. Even the dogs hadn't started their usual whimpering. Dilha was flittering from fire pit to fire pit, trying to help the men get their fires going. She wasn't dishing out cuffs around the ear either. The fire lighting task was proving difficult, even for her. The wet fog clung to everything in the village, wood shavings included. Chief Jabo's fire pit was also cold. She hadn't ordered her own deballed manslaves to light it. The pair must be asleep at the back of her cave, or tending to some other chore. Inside the cave entrance, she sat atop her massive pile of skins that served as a bed. She liked it positioned there so she could lie with a view of the fire pit and the huts below. At first, Sulan didn't notice, but buried under Jabo's ample buttocks lay Darev. At least, his 2 legs poked out from under the chief at the front. Sulan assumed his head and torso poked out behind. If they didn't, he was likely dead. Jabo rode him, her knees sinking into the bed as it supported her thrusts. Had Darev been a horse, Sulan decided, the pair would have been traveling at a fair gallop. "He's not hardening, Sulan," Jabo said as she noticed her hunter in the cave entrance. She stopped for a rest and inspected the scene between her legs. "His little white cock is no bigger than my mother spot." Sulan wished she had Ziba there for her diplomacy skills, but she'd had to do her best without her. What if these whiteskins have different positions, Chief?" was the best thing she could do. "Can I come and help?" Yes, come in. I can't see how you'd make it any worse," Jabo said, and Sulan crossed the threshold into the high cave. Skins and animal heads hung from the cave walls. Woven rugs covered the floor, some of Ziba's best handiwork. Beyond the bed, the cave stretched another 30 paces, deep into the hillside. Jabo's cloaks, armor, ceremonial club, and various other keepsakes leaned against both walls. The tribe's precious items, banners, and parchments lay in piles, and to the rear, the more humble slave bed. 2 male figures lay curled, asleep. Jabo must have retrieved Darev herself. Sulan wondered how he had reacted to that rude awakening. Jabo climbed off the manslave. "I'm fetching a drink. It's thirsty work, this fucking a dead horse." She ambled back into the cave. Sulan pulled Darev up into a sitting position, relieved to see he was still breathing. He looked scared. She put a finger to his mouth as he was about to speak. "Shush! You have to get hard and spit your seed into her, okay?" He moved her finger away from his lips and whispered, "You think I don't know that? It's difficult, you know? It's not very arousing." Jabo was rattling around in the back of the cave, kicking the deballed manslaves awake. "Hey, slave! Where's last night's med?" she asked the first one that woke. Sulan whispered back to Darev, "You must try harder. Dream of the most beautiful woman. Dream of me. Ha! Here!" She reached her hand between Darev's legs and began working his cock. With her other hand, she took one of his and shoved it inside her rabbit skin, pushing his fingers against her low lips. "Just dream about fucking me, okay? Get it done or she will not be happy." Darev hardened in Sulan's hand as Jabo returned. "Oh, you have to fingerfuck him?" the chief asked. "I can do that." She flexed the fingers of one hand, practicing what looked like a firm grip. Darev flinched back into the bedskins. Sulan spoke up. "No need, he's ready now." Mother's sake, she'd likely rip his cock off in her hand if she tried that. "Also, he might be too weak for that position, under your strong chiefly body," she continued. "Perhaps if you kneel across the bed and he fucks you from behind, you know, like the dogs?" Chief Jabo grunted and stopped flexing her massive fingers. "Whatever will make him spit. Let's get on with it." She thumped her knees down, nearly bouncing Darev clean off the bed. He scrambled to his feet, his erection already losing some of its newfound vigor. "Shall I stay, Chief?" Sulan asked. "It's protocol to have a guard." "Humph. What's he going to do? Stab me with that limp cock of his?" "I should be so lucky," Jabo answered. "But sure, you can keep watch. Make sure he stays inside me when he spits." "Of course," Sulan answered and winked at Darev, pushing him between the chief's prone legs. She took up a position beside him and gave him another stroke. With Sulan's help, Darev pushed himself between Jabo's low lips and began moving his hips. He squeezed his eyes shut. "Dreaming of me?" Sulan hoped. "Well, mother mercy, I can feel something," Jabo declared. With Sulan's firm hand pushing his backside, helping him keep a steady rhythm, Darev eventually spat his seed. As he trembled, Sulan pushed his bottom with both hands, forcing Jabo's wobbling thighs further apart. "He's spitting in me!" the chief yelled. "Thank you, mother!" Darev's groans was more of relief than ecstasy, and he emptied his balls and the hopes of the entire tribe into the chief. When at last Sulan decided he had no more to give, she released Darev's bottom and let him withdraw. "Chief, it's best if you don't stand up, okay?" She leaned over Jabo's back to speak to her. "We should give the baby seed time to soak. Stay like that for a while. Your slaves will have breakfast ready soon." "Yes, I suppose," Jabo grizzled. "I look stupid, though, with my ass in the air. This is no position for a chief. I'll make sure nobody comes up here for a while. Don't worry." "You're a dutiful girl to your chief, young Sulan," Jabo replied. Sulan led a drained Darev back to his cave. "You did good. Now do that every day for a month and you'll be fine." "Oh, mother," was all he said as she locked him up. Jabo's slaves approached the bed from the back of the cave, still both drowsy from sleep. The sight of their chief's bare buttocks lifted high in the air woke them up. "Breakfast," one of them announced in his poor dialect. "Well, bring it here, around to the front," Jabo shouted, "unless you expect me to eat it with my ass."